Welcome to Noteworthy, a podcast by the young people of Banyule about the great things they're doing in our community. Brought to you by Banyule Youth Services. Our current series is focusing on the stories, passions and wisdom of local young people. And today we're hearing from skater and conservationist Colesey.
Hi, I'm Colesey. I started skating about late primary school because I moved to a different primary school and I sat next to this dude who was playing with the tech deck. And then one morning I saw him just skating on the basketball court and he jumped, the board flipped, he landed back on it, and it was just like watching magic. You don't really understand the physics when you're a kid, so it just blew my mind. Like most people who start skating, they ask for the Christmas complete. It's kind of like an age-old tradition now. And I got this sort of weird and wonderful Star Wars complete that I rode once in my backyard. I slipped and fell on my ass and was like, I'm going to give this a break for a year or two because it just threw me. Sort of early high school, I started again. The interest peaked. I think it's a pretty tumultuous time in your early high school life. Not many people at my high school skated. I had maybe one or two friends later on, but it was mostly myself and people I just met at the skate park, really. It's amazing the community you can develop when you're just hanging out at a place with mutual interests. When I was that age, skating was kind of this ultra focused. It's all you think about. And then you go to the skate park and then you meet people who are like-minded. That's kind of all they want to do as well. And then skating's got this weird thing where you can socialize with people outside of your normal group, whether that be different ethnicities, age groups. It sort of breaks down barriers. And really early on, just frequenting the skate park in Heidelberg, I met a couple of dudes that were a few years older than me, and they had no problem hanging out with me, and they seemed to have their stuff together. They were kind of this really positive role model, and I sort of just have piggybacked off that for years. I just think any sort of all-consuming passion like skating was to me is going to help you navigate developmental years. It really just gives you something to focus on that isn't the negative stuff. And when other people around you are concentrating on paths that are descending, you don't really have time for it because a lot of that stuff will take you away from the thing you're trying to do, which for me was skating. I just wanted to skate, which meant I didn't have time to experiment with the things that a lot of kids my age were doing at that time. I think the focus of skateboarding, and it's kind of the beautiful thing that a lot of hobbies can do, but I think skateboarding does really well, is it's very similar to mindfulness meditation, except in that with mindfulness meditation, it's you're actively trying to fend off distraction in order to concentrate on the present. Whereas skateboarding, it doesn't allow you to engage in distraction. Because when you're trying a trick, when you're trying to learn something, because you're actually skating, you're on a plank of wood with four wheels. If you're thinking about other stuff, you're going to fall over, and you're going to fall over anyway. Most of your time is spent falling, and then you land a trick every now and then. So your concentration is totally there. You just tunnel vision to your feet and to the board and what you're doing. And when life gets tough, you can just go skate, and it's not repressing anything. It's just a couple of hours where you don't even have the choice to think about that stuff because you have to pay attention. To learn anything in skating, you've got to just try it 1,000 times and maybe another 1,000 and maybe another 1,000. And then once you finally learn something and you start to land it more than once every 100th try, and it becomes something you can do most shots, you're then bored with it. So you try another thing. And so you spend your entire time skateboarding just falling over. You just want to keep trying things. I love that skateboarding kind of shows that you can just try new things constantly. It shows you that if you just try something enough, you can probably get close to doing it, because it takes a lot of time to learn a trick. It took me 6 months to learn to kickflip, and that was 2 hours a day. And I've seen people learn it in a single day, but it took me 2 hours a day for 6 months. If you just apply that methodology to anything else, you can pretty much figure out that with enough time and enough practice, you can do most things. So I think it has shaped the way that I approach the world. It's helped me travel and sort of see places I never would have seen. It's helped me meet people that I never would have met. The things I've done in skateboarding, working at the shop's been a life-changing experience, and so is teaching. Currently, I work at the skate shop in Greensborough, Main Street locality. It's kind of like the northern suburbs, skateboarding hub, I think. Yeah, locality store is a business and it's a skate shop, but I think it means a lot more than that to the community and to me. I think it's a safe space. For me, when I was younger, going into a skate shop was always an intimidating experience. I was never the most confident person. So these places had a pretty standoffish kind of vibe. And I, for years, never felt totally comfortable because I just felt intimidated. And then I went into locality once it opened, and that skate shop cool guy facade just vanished. The shop owner just came and spoke to me like a person. He just seemed so interested in who I was, like what I was doing in my life. And I've seen him do that to everyone that comes into the shop. It really feels like a place where if you walk in there, you matter to someone. Like there's someone there that will listen. And so many people come into the shop just to chat. I think it's like a safe space for the community, and it's become this sort of community service, I think. And that's what I love most about it. It's a strong theme in my life, just stumbling into opportunities, which is, I think, also how the Own Life thing came about, because I'm doing the skate coaching with Own Life, because I was friends with Richard and Rachel. They're amazing and they run Own Life. And I'd skated with them a fair few times at the Heidelberg skate park. And then one day I just get a call from Richard and he's like, yeah, we're doing this. What's our thing? Did you want to do it? And it's like, yeah, definitely. That sounds rad. I pretty much just stumbled into that opportunity too. Own Life is very similar to locality in that it's just kind of open skateboarding. It's very inclusive. They teach skateboarding mainly with councils, and they pick a skate park or they pick an area, and they have free lessons with pads and helmets provided and skateboards provided, which is pretty unique too. And then it just lets parents bring their kids down or kids to travel on their own to get there. And then you can just pick up a board, pick up a helmet, and then there's someone there who can tell you how to use it. For me, when I was starting and I slipped on my ass and was like, I'm not touching this for a year or two, if someone was there to be like, no, just lean forwards, like don't lean back, push with this foot. And when you go to fall, step forwards, not backwards. It would have saved me 2 years of not skating. If someone was there to just give me that like 1 point out. That's the first thing that we tell kids is just lean forwards, like don't do what I did and then you'll be fine. And some of these kids are just phenomenal. They learn so quick. It blows my mind. And it's very non-traditional. One of the things I love about skateboarding is that unlike established sports where it's like you've got a day of the week that you train and then on the weekend you compete. It's every day is that like training day, but you dictate what you do. The onus is on you to learn. It can reinforce a lot of self-discipline in that regard. And you see that when you're teaching kids is that you don't really structure it. You let them dictate where they want to go and you just sort of help them along the way to give them pointers and stuff. Yeah, the people at Own Life are fantastic and I love what they do. Skate parks being shut's pretty hard for people with COVID right now. Own Life can't really work right now. Like the shop too, we can't open. For a lot of people, skating it's just not the same without the social aspect because it's a very much a community driven thing. For a lot of people, it's the friends and the family that you make that matter in skating. Like it's just better with people. Like with everything in COVID right now, I think people are realizing just how much they've been stripped of that human connection. The individualistic side is also a bit hindered. I think that's hurting as well in skating. As of now, it's a bit ambiguous with the law as to how much of an exercise it's classed as. So it's a bit of a gamble to go skate. I'm not saying it's a huge problem. I think it's just one of those like small ripple effects that like this tragic pandemic is having on every aspect of life. But it's a bit of a worry because I think for some people, skating is like it's a release or it's a crux for people with some mental health issues. But other than that, I think like the heart of skateboarding hasn't been impacted by COVID, I don't think. Like completes are going out the door right now because with the free time people have in COVID, everyone's doing that. They're trying new things. And one of the things a lot of people are trying is skateboarding. And I think that's fantastic. And in the past like 3 or 4 years at the shop, we've sold more completes to girls than anyone else. And at the Own Life events, when I started, I expected it to be like maybe 80-20, like 80% dudes, 20% chicks. But it's like 50-50 most days. And oftentimes it's like female skewed, like there's more girls there than anyone else. Like 10 years ago, you never would have seen that. We're selling so many boards and you're seeing so many girls skating now. When I spoke about role models earlier and like my friend Jesse and Joel, who are a little bit older than me, like having them as positive role models, I just feel like that one chick that I saw like a decade ago skating, the impact she would have had now with all these girls skating, like they've got that role model now. It's amazing. It's great to see so many people trying new things. the more diversity, the healthier the system. And skateboarding is very much, I think, being influenced by that. Like, the more diversity that's being brought into skateboarding, the healthier skateboarding is, the fresher it is. And it's just growing more and more. And I think it's because more people are doing it. As far as the resilience goes of skateboarding to like the broader side of life, I think it's pretty insidious. Like, I think when a kid's trying to learn to skate, or when I was trying to learn to skate, like not landing a trick or like stacking and getting hurt, it never feels like a failure, because it's like the process to learning the trick is to constantly just keep trying, because you're not going to learn it first shot. So you're going to try over and over and over again, and maybe you try 1,000 times, maybe you try more than 1,000. But along the way, those don't really feel like failures. Whereas like if you expand to life, when you fail at something else in a different area, it feels like failure. Like you don't make the mark you want on a test, you feel like you've failed. Or you've done something that you're not too proud of, you feel like you've failed. Whereas I think subconsciously and insidiously, the constant repetition of not doing what you want to try and do what you want in skateboarding, like not landing the trick and then eventually landing it, is just this subconscious conditioning of you can just try things, and if it doesn't go out, you just try again, or you just try something else. And in my life, that was that case in my life, where there's the expectation of a life path. I feel like when you're a kid going through high school, you very much feel the expectations of society to follow a certain path. There's like the career, the house with the white picket fence, the family, and the roast dinner. You know, there's very much a set in place path, and you get the idea that you're supposed to figure things out early on and then plan your entire life towards that goal. You know, I had no idea what I was going to do when I was in my early high school, and I just kind of was like, yeah, you know, maybe I'll try web development. You know, who knows? So I, you know, followed the careers counselor's advice and tailored all of my subjects towards that, and then like got the ATAR, like went to uni, did that, and found out I just really didn't like it. I didn't like being inside all the time, and I was horrible at coding. I had no idea what I was doing, and I think it was like 2 weeks before the exam, and I just dropped out. I can't do this. I'm done with this. What am I going to do? And I think a lot of people, when they're trying to figure things out, are super disillusioned with that. And I guess to tie it back in with the skateboarding, like you just have to try something else. And that's what happened. I got out of that course and I was like, well, what am I going to do now? Like, what can I try? I pretty much was just trying to figure things out, and I had a free day off after I dropped out. I think it was Greswell Forest. I went for a walk in, actually, just on the border of Banyule. And I was walking through there and I was like drawing a picture of a tawny frogmouth that I saw in the tree. And it just was like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I here drawing? This isn't like, usually I'm just skating. Like, I'm just here drawing these birds. And I was just like, what if I just tried this? Because I like it, obviously. I'm here trying it. I like being out in nature. I like being outside. What if I just tried something of this vein? So I didn't have any of the prerequisites for the environmental stuff. And realizing that was something I kind of wanted to try, I just emailed the university. I was just like, hey, like, this is what I'd really like to try. I haven't done any of the bio and chemistry and stuff in high school. I hadn't done any of those. So I just emailed them and I was like, I'd really like to try this. What can I do? And they pretty much just made an exception. So they're like, well, you know, we'll just put you in and see how you go. That like conditioning of not feeling like your failures are failures extends to the wider aspects of your life. So when things like that happen, like dropping out of that course and sort of the life plan that I'd sort of instilled in myself had sort of crumbled. It didn't feel like I'd failed at that, or I'd failed at this, or how I imagine a lot of kids feel trying to figure out their life. They've failed at life, you know. You just dive into the next thing. And I think that taking away of what failure is that skateboarding does can really help with that. You can live your life and do things in your life purely on what you perceive as valuable. Like you define your own terms of what you value. Like you can get away from that path by just placing your significance and your value on other things. Like you can extend it to the totality of personal endeavor, that if you can define what you value, then you're free to try anything and to commit to doing anything. And you're also free to leave that and to try something else. And there's no more failure when you're discussing the terms with yourself. Especially when you're young, but like even when you're older, like life is tough before COVID, you know, and now people have all this free time, and before it was occupied by work or school. And now you've got so much free time. It's like, well, what am I doing? COVID's kind of given a lot of people, I think, the chance to reassess and to look at the broader picture. skating makes you go outside, and like the fresh air, like being around other people or just being by yourself away from like your normal place is so important. And for me, like the outdoors has been so important. And the more I've been doing the study about it, the more I've grown to love it. And I think as far as conservation goes, the first step to like saving the planet is to convince people to love it. And if I can like contextualize that towards like the Banyule area or like Greswell Forest, which is I think just right on the border, it might be Watsonia. That's like remnant box stringy bark, like dry forest. That's an ecosystem you can't find almost anywhere else anymore. And that's right on our doorstep. And if you like go walk through that, that's like the last standing or one of the last standing box stringy bark ecosystems. So that is wholesomely unique. And almost all of nature is wholesomely unique. So you can go and you just gain this appreciation, and that can extend to the rest of your life, is that sort of appreciation of the world around you, no matter where you are. Doing that course and learning about the outdoors, and the deeper I went, learning to appreciate what's there. But I've met a lot of people who are unwilling to try new things because they're afraid they're not going to be good at it. There's nothing wrong with like being ambitious to be really good at something, but that doesn't mean sucking at it's bad. It's the journey, not the destination, right? So if I could sign off at anything, it would be like, just feel free to suck at stuff. Because I do at a lot of things and I'm totally fine with that.
Thank you, Colesey. You've been listening to Noteworthy, a Banyule Youth podcast.